The right, this is the French team Patrouille de France. Pilot, expert in air defense, and he's in his second year in the team. Show here in Duxford. Split, French team Patrouille de France. Left behind in aviation, developmentally and militarily. US military aviation began in 1907 with the establishment of the Aeronautical Division of the US Army First, and Germany took the lead. After almost 3 years of neutrality, the United States joined the First World War in 1917, and its military aviation needed to develop fast, and as we were describing, it collaborated to some extent with the French before the US entered the war, doing so with the SMB Lafayette on aircraft like the 17 and later the SPAD 13. See a SPAD replica in the American Air Museum, plus the likes of the Sopwith Camel and the Royal Aircraft Factory SE-5A, and in front of us, one of them has smoked on to demonstrate a damaged engine. We have two SE-5As, one has gone off to the right, used by the Fokker DR-1 Drydecker, the other to the left. But the American infantry haven't been inactive either. They were building de Havilland DH-4s, they were making Liberty Aero engines. It was a springboard for things to come. One of the American flyers who came to Britain in World War I, first to train and then to fight, was George Vaughan. Talking in the 1980s, he explained how that came about.
train on in the United States. As I've said before, the only aircraft built in the United States up at that point was the Curtis Jenny. There were a few other miscellaneous craft that were built, but the only ones that were built in any quantity with the Curtis Jenny. And that was strictly a training aircraft. I don't think anybody ever put a gun on a training out of Curtis Jenny, and certainly never carried any bombs. But it was the only thing available.
Furthermore, there was 5As before he was posted to the US 17th Aero Squadron flying the Sopwith Camel. He ended up with 13 kills, of which 4 were individual aircraft. 7 aircraft kills he shared. He shot down 1 kite balloon and sent another aircraft out of control. This was Vaughan's description of his first aerial combat.
When we finally did go over the lines, we were taken over in a very gingerly fashion by our relatively cautious flight commander, and I didn't suspect that there was anything hostile in the air or anywhere near where we were. They hadn't been up to that point. And the first thing I knew, I was conscious of the machine gun fire from the rear, and I looked around and the great yellow nose of a German Faust was practically in my rear cockpit. I didn't know he was in the sky. I didn't have the slightest idea there was an enemy aircraft around. So that was the first great lesson I had. Keep watching in behind all the time. Only the he didn't hit anything serious. And that actually turned into my first victory, because I'd been taught in the school what to do if somebody came up behind. And so I made a quick left climbing turn, got around behind this fellow without paying any attention to what else there might be in the sky at all. And finally did get behind him, because he just started straight for home and flew in a straight line, and I was able to shoot him down. Much to the chagrin of my flight commander, who realized that there were a number of other aircraft in the sky at the time.
But it was also rearming, and it was important to train a new cadre of pilots, and that's where aircraft like the ones in front of us come in. Closer to us, the beautiful silver Ryan STA, and aerobatic up above, the Boeing Stearman PT-17 Cadet. Both primary training aircraft. The Ryan we see here, a civil example, but a type that did see a certain amount of military use.
I know this was actually used by the military, mostly in the South American area, but also the Netherlands had one of these aircraft which they used in the Dutch East Indies. I think you'd agree this is an absolutely beautiful aeroplane. C. Claude Ryan began producing aircraft. He in fact built the aircraft that Charles Lindbergh flew, the Spirit of Louis, and across the Atlantic in that very aircraft. He also designed this wonderful machine you see today. I'm told that it flies
Seen the Breitling sponsor team here on many past occasions, but this is the military variant, the Cadet, as used by the US Army Air Corps, which later became the Army Air Force. At the outset, the Stearman Model 75, as it was known, was a private venture by the Stearman Aircraft Company, based in Wichita, Kansas, a firm acquired by Boeing in 1934. And they were built in enormous numbers, the Stearman Cadet, over 3,500 of them in 1940 alone. One of the quite best known uses was one of the so-called Arnold scheme, instigated by the US Army Air Corps General Hap Arnold, for several training skinner that later took over. Passed there by these two aeroplanes. The first time we've seen this Ryan at Duxford, they debuted on board home base 3 weeks ago. Second Ryan this, that Peter Holloway has owned as part of his fleet of aircraft. Were to move on to in the form of 2 examples of the Harvard and 1 of the T-6 Texan, as it was known to the US Army Air Corps and US Army Air Force, and they are rolling now off the grass.
it. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and apologies for the technical delay. Just had to join in halfway through the display, and as you can see, the Apache call sign does just cross left to right in a maneuver which could be used as one of the best ways to return to target, and it's used routinely by frontline crews. As the aircraft returns to Crowd Center, the crew will now perform a rapid climb. This shows the excellent rate of climb that the powerful engines enable the aircraft to have, and will be used to maneuver the Apache rapidly through what is known operationally as the threat band. This is where the aircraft is most vulnerable to small arms fire. At the front of the Apache we have the sights and sensors. The optics are able to look up to 60 degrees down from the horizontal, giving the crew good field. Pitching to 90 degrees nose up and then rapidly repositioning back into the hover. And once stable, they'll conduct a 180-degree spot turn before exiting 90 degrees nose down. This shows the immense agility of this 10-ton aircraft, and along with the pedal turn, it is one of the maneuvering wing of the Crowd Center. This once again will demonstrate how agile the Apache is, and why it's such an effective asset to the British Armed Forces. Enjoy the takeoff of the Hurricane and the Spitfire. Potentially in harm's way in the UK. Restrictions early on. The first 25 Harvards that were based in Canada and supplied before September 1940 couldn't be flown across the US border to Canada because of the then US Neutrality Act, so they physically had to be hauled across the border by Canadian nationals before being flown to their bases. By the end of 1940, more than 800 Harvards had been delivered to bases around the Empire, and Lord Beaverbrook, the then British Minister of Aircraft Production, congratulated the President of North American Aviation, Dutch Kindleberger, by telegram for exceeding the production schedule. And of course, hugely important when it came to training a regular supply of pilots for the front line.
The war, and the Eagles ready to continue the battle under America's flag. Trade their Royal Air Force wings for those of the fledgling U.S. Army Air Corps.
our Boeing B-17G Flying Fortress, Saudi B. The last question was consolidating the major factory, Burbank, California. Site in Europe is so revered as a flying memorial, no wonder so important. Kelly Starringbow and her team from B-17 Preservation Limited, based here in Duxford, keep it flying with your enthusiastically received support. Flying fortress, name suggests, with a very large number of machine guns for defensive armament, still at the mercy of attacks by German fighters. When longer-range escort fighters came in with the US Army Air Force, the B-38 Lightning first, followed by the B-47. Representing the rest of the F-109s. And the B-17 and the Mustangs come in to attack. Model really representative of the ultimate flying fortress as far as wartime service was concerned. The early experience with the type in Europe showed that it needed better defensive armament, a bigger bomb bay, and better bomb aiming equipment. The main tactic of the 8th Air Force, as I said, daylight raids against German industrial facilities and transport and resupply networks like the likes of marshalling yards and railway junctions. On board the B-17s and B-24s at altitude were pretty hellish, it has to be said. Noisy, cold, little armour plating or protective. Remember that the Sally B Supporters Club and also all of the men of the US 8th Air Force. Pursued by the pair of Mustangs. How the Mustang came about is a really remarkable one with a huge British element. British purchasing position in the United States is set up to procure American war material for British use was headed up by a man called Sir Henry Self. He was a civil service executive. Came into service in June of the following year. Planned as a refueling platform for Strategic Air Command bombers, it was used in Vietnam to refuel fighter bombers. Thus, with undercarriage up in the clean configuration, therefore, the KC-135R Stratotanker with air-to-air refueling boom extended. Of an official report, search for a follow-on aircraft to the AC-47. That was the gunship variant of the Douglas C-47 Skytrain that we'll be seeing in the programme later. The Piranha could carry rockets and a 500-pound bomb in the event. Those aircraft. Their baptism of fire came in the Korean War. The first example arrived on evaluation in December 1951, about 6 months later. Well, the Army Berlin Brigade. So, rolling to go and climb for height prior to their display, the short SC7 Skyvan and the North American OV-10B Bronco. Days and was to pass into infamous legend. From the right comes the Skyvan and Bronco. Grass, and you can see the Bronco, which also has a good short landing capability, doing likewise alongside it. This aircraft derived from the Skyvan, the Model 334, procured by the US Air Force, is used as frequent pickup. Here they come into a formation landing. Seek out and mark the targets using coloured smoke. The Cobras would attack them. The Loach also carried its own armament, 7.62mm machine gun. In 1969, it was sent directly to Vietnam, joining the US Army's 20th Transport Company. And it really is a warbird in itself. It was repaired, transferred to the Army National Guard and various support units, latterly with the Drug Enforcement Agency, so it was sold on in 2004, when Phil Connolly bought it to add to his Huey in the original Southeast Asia Theatre colours. Here a little of the manoeuvrability of the Hughes OH-60 staff design. There was a need then for a small special operations helicopter better able to operate in very confined spaces. The results were the MH-6 and the armed AH-6 version, both of which were done.
In the Mark 16 Spitfire TE, Andy Priest following in the Mark 2C LF. I was talking to Andy after he did his second flight in the Hurricane, and he said his first flight he doesn't really remember, it kind of went in a haze, but the second flight he was flying on, he suddenly remembered, I'm flying a Hurricane, now I've got to land it. I'm flying a Hurricane, now I've got to land it. And he's obviously a very experienced pilot, he's playing Tornadoes and the Tutor, but his first season flying a tailwheel aircraft. Powell's actually joined the Air Force as a Fulton apprentice, that ruined his flying career as of 1943. From then on in, he was a staff officer. I'd like to say, on behalf of the BBMF, thank you very much indeed.
And thank you very much indeed, Keith Miller, for talking about an aerobatic interlude. Two Extreme Air XA-41s, two fantastic aerobatic pilots. It's the Red Bull Matadors. Paul Bonham leading, Steve Jones, the number 2. These are masters of their craft. These are sensational aeroplanes. Red Bull Air Race world champion is now retired from the Extreme Air XA-41, initially known as the S-Bach 300 series. That's a reference to the aircraft's designer Philip Steinbach, the aerobatic pilot himself.
Jones here has been enthusiastic about formation flying for a very long time. And his chief flying instructor was horrified to discover that when Jones, a newly qualified pilot, was flying from the club, he was doing formation takeoffs and landings with a colleague. Nobody had told him he couldn't do it without extensive training, so he just got on and did it. Clearly a natural, and that we've seen on the display circuit for many years. He's been a flying instructor himself. He's been a banner tower, he's been an air taxi pilot, executive jet pilot, Boeing 747 captain and competition aerobatic pilot. He clears out to make way for Paul Bonham, nice as ever. That's the display axis heading directly away from us as opposed to the A axis, which is the axis along the grass and hard runways here at Duxford. So we're back to American aircraft. American built in one case, American operators in the other case, rolling together off the grass, a rather unlikely looking pair of de Havilland DH-89A Dragon Rapide and Piper L4 Cub. RAF was able to make it available to de Havilland Tiger Moth, Westfield Standard, and a number of de Havilland nominees into the variant of the DH-89A Dragon Rapide. Associated Airways Joint Committee. Operated by Air Leasing. Built in 1942, it went to the 8th Air Force, first in France after liberation. Recently been restored by British as his aircraft set on fire. Just managed to sideswim it into land and get out of it before it exploded. Rolling now, in formation, 2 examples of the Douglas C-47A Skytrain. What with the registration, the cabin windows would have been whitewashed to stop the passengers seeing out, not least because the aircraft flew over the Navy base Scarpa Flow, then a most secret place. The airborne R0 replica ready for our Pacific Theatre scenario. Photographed enemy positions, they attack targets on or near the front line. And on D-Day, C-47 Skytrains like these two were very active. Battle, some of them carrying paratroops, others towing troop-carrying gliders. And here, for those able to see the big screens, is some period footage.
In the late hours of the
Air Force C-47 on D-Day as part of that great aerial armada was Bud Rice.
Way over, we did everything once in a while, so it wasn't too bad. And we flew over 120 miles an hour in this big formation. Biggest armada ever, right? 800 planes. As we hit landfall on the continental peninsula, there was a solid land fog. Now you're flying with your wing almost inside the wing towards the other airplane, and he disappears. You can't see your own wing. Everybody disappears. So what do? You have to take evasive action. You go through but your training is amazing how your training tells you what to do in the circumstance. You hope, and I think you pray a little in the background of your mind, but you're working hard to do whatever your training tells you to do.
for the paratroops loaded into the back of the Sky trains, the experience was no less intense. Major Henry Duke Boswell jumped into battle in Normandy with the 82nd Airborne Division. Had snatch gear fitted to the rear fuselage to pick up troop-carrying gliders from the Normandy battlefield in order to hopefully reuse them on future operations. On the evening of the 6th of June 1944, that aircraft involved Elmira, flight aboard assault using CG-4 Hadrian and airspeed Horsa gliders by elements of the 82nd Airborne Division, reinforced. Gaining their maiden victory. And here comes the first of the American fighters to hopefully seek the zero off. First, this is your SQ-0 for another attack run, and I think another pair of American fighters are ready to go up after it. Here they go, scrambling off Duxford runway from an FMC Wildcat at the 44-55.
Typhoon. Mark was a qualified flying instructor on the Hawk, and then later went on to fly the Harrier. provide the quick reaction alert to protect the sovereign airspace around the UK.